When somebody tells you that your God is a promise-breaking, adultery-promoting master of deception who shows partiality for one group of humans and curses others for asking evidence, what would you call that? Keep watching. Welcome to this 10th episode of the series where we discuss the role of Islam in the Antichrist regime, according to the Bible. If you are new here, please watch the earlier episodes of this series to know how the Bible prophesies about Islam, its rule and expansion, its tenure and its demise. The link to the playlist will be shown in the top right-hand corner info card. I will also put in the link to the playlist in the description box. But before we start, let us listen to former President Donald Trump to know what he thinks is happening in our world. He surely is alluding to a malicious strategy to make this entire world as an unsafe place.
And let's go get ISIS, because we have to get ISIS, and we have to get them fast. You saw what happened with the priests. It's only going to get worse. And Hillary Clinton wants to allow 550% more people from that region into our country, and we have no idea who they are, where they come from, where their documentation is. It's only going to get worse, and it's going to start getting bad in our country. We're letting people come in by the tens of thousands. You see what happened to the French priest. A friend of mine, he said he was going to France like 3-4 months ago. I saw him yesterday. I said, "How'd you like France?" He said, "I wouldn't go to France. I wouldn't go to France, because France is no longer France. France is no longer France." They won't like me for saying that, but you see what happened in Nice. You see what happened yesterday with the priest who was supposed to be a spectacular man. France is no longer France.
And Britain is no longer Britain, and Germany is no longer Germany, and Greece is no longer Greece. The cancer keeps spreading. He told everything without naming the problem, but in this video, I have the liberty to name the problem. Islam is the cause, plain and simple as that. And if few humans are infected by this extremism of Islam, all that needs to be done is to spread the infected carriers all over the world, and they will get the agenda executed. In episode number 8, we have understood that there is an Islamic expectation concerning the advent of two end-time figures. One of that is called as the Mahdi, and the other is the re-entry of the Islamic Isa. These two figures somehow match the two end-time evil figures mentioned in the Bible. Therefore, it is a very curious case for people who study eschatology. I have not yet seen any Muslim scholar commenting on the Christian viewpoint of the end-time Antichrist and the false prophet figure. Though most of the book of Revelation is symbolic in nature, we should not be dogmatic in sticking on to one single viewpoint. Many events contained in the book can come to pass quickly. Some of the contents are very plain and does not require any special interpretation. In this episode, we shall talk about one of that. That is the blasphemous nature of the Antichrist regime. In Revelation chapter 13 verse 1, we see a monstrous beast coming out of the sea, and it has 10 horns with 7 heads, and on those 7 heads we see a blasphemous name written on it. Interestingly, the 10 horns has crowns on it. It's not 7 different blasphemous names, but one blasphemous name written on all those 7 heads. Horns with crowns signifies kings, and each head of the beast signifies a geographical entity where each king rules. So we can conclude that it is about 7 different geographical entities or countries ruled by 10 kings. That would also mean that there are instances where there are more than one king in 3 of the geographical entities. They are commonly united by one body, the body of Islam. This is not at all a surprise, as we know that the Islamic countries of the Middle East is ruled by kings or dictators matching the horns with the crown symbol. Now let me show you the flags of 4 countries which you can easily identify, and it has this writing on it. which claims that the Islamic Allah is greater. Remember that Allahu Akbar does not mean God is great, rather it means Allah is greater. The natural question that should come to your mind is, who is Allah greater than? These sample flags of OIC, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq and Afghanistan has this common theme, which says that the Islamic Allah is greater. Obviously, they are declaring that the Islamic Allah is greater than what people worship as God. This is a mischievous twist to deceive Westerners who do not understand the gravity of the word. Furthermore, it identifies this Islamic Allah as the deity of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. Coming back to Revelation, the second verse gives us a better idea of this beast. It says that the beast is the physical representation of the dragon, which gives it its power. When we read chapter 12, we know that there is the same dragon having a conflict with the woman and her offspring. This same dragon was thrown down to the earth after a war in heaven, where Michael and his hosts defeated the dragon and his angels. Needless to say, this seven-headed dragon of the 12th chapter is represented by the beast, which is also a seven-headed monster. But one thing is sure, there will be a miraculous healing as mentioned in verse 3, which will garner the whole world to follow the beast. We should keep a close watch to the incidents which will unfold before the end. As we continue to read the chapter, there is something which stands out. That is the blasphemy done by this beast and its followers. If we go back to the history, there is no such entity who is established based on a blasphemy and spanned across centuries other than Islam. The Romans did indeed persecute the church for the first 3 centuries. However, they never had any blasphemous foundation as we see in Islam. At least, I am not aware of it. Revelation chapter 13 verse 4 gives us an insight into the nature of the religion of the Antichrist. They do worship the dragon, and at the same time they also worship the beast. This is exactly the Islamic way. Though they claim to worship Allah, they are really worshiping their prophet. Ideally, the blasphemy law should be applied for defiling the name of God. However, in Islamic countries like Pakistan, even questioning the prophet is considered as blasphemy and is punishable by death. All blasphemy laws of an Islamic state centers around Muhammad and not around Allah, whom they claim as their God. You can make a false statement about Allah and they may at best reprimand you. However, if you say even a truth about their prophet which they feel ashamed of, you will be charged under the blasphemy law. We all know that the end-time Mahdi would also be called as Muhammad, and he will rise out from the genealogy of the Prophet of Islam. He will be worshipped, regardless of whatever Muslims will say. In the very foundation of Islam, it not only denies the divinity of the Son, it also maligns the nature of God as a very carnal, immoral, and unbecoming entity. So let us turn the pages of the Bible and the Quran to know how God has been blasphemed in Islam. On one side they say that their Allah is greater, but on the other side they say that our God is their God. They want to have the cake and eat it too. When Muslims insist that our God is their God, and then attributing all kinds of evil and wrong things to the same God, then it has to be counted as blasphemy. There are no two opinions about it. If they say that their God is not our God, we would not have had any issues. Surah 29 verse 46 makes this claim that the God of the people of Scriptures, meaning the God of Christians and Jews, is the same God as that of the Muslims as portrayed by the Prophet of Islam. Number 1. The God of the Bible does not change his words, he remains faithful to his own words. He cannot deny himself. If he promises or takes an oath, he will perform it. But the God of the Quran not only breaks it by himself, he even asks his followers to break the oath. So when Muslims tell these things and claim that their God is our God, they are indeed blaspheming the God of the Bible. The purpose of Islam itself is to insult the God, and they have been doing it since 14 centuries. However, it will culminate in a large-scale forced blasphemy which we are already seeing in many Islamic countries. Number 2. The God of the Bible, who said that he does not like divorces and forbid adultery, suddenly changed his mind and started promoting divorces and encourages Muslims to take the wives of other men and in the process, if needed, kill their husbands. Did God undergo a change of heart, that he suddenly thought all those evil things have become altogether holy? How come he even promotes social incest when he commanded his prophet to force his son to divorce his wife so that his prophet can have a sexual relationship with her? When the image of God is mutilated to this extent and you brand this God as the same God of the Bible, it is blasphemy in my eyes. How about yours? Number 3. Even though he claims to be the creator of all things, he finds humans who do not follow his religion as the worst of creatures and unclean. Such an attitude itself contradicts the basic fundamentals of a creator's mind. To me, he is more of a mafia don who wants to hurt those who are not part of his domain. Even more interesting is that this very Allah claims to have deceived and tricked all those witnessing the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, when indeed it was somebody else. Even his mother standing beside the cross could not recognize that it was an impostor from Allah who was crucified. And as a result of this deception, the largest religion of the world was born, and Allah is still unsuccessful in convincing the entire world that it was his deception. Blasphemies are always based on lies against the truth. After a fixed period of time, its effect expires. The original always stands the test of time. Smart people during the time of Muhammad understood the fraud being pulled on gullible folks. Sadly, the number of gullible ones are increasing as was prophesied in the Bible. This will continue till the day of his second coming. Let me end this episode by citing one more incident which proved that the God of Islam is just a powerless demonic entity. An all-powerful God will have control over everything. In this instance, when Balaam came to curse the children of Israel, he understood that it would not work on them, and instead blesses them and departs. He knows that their God is indeed almighty. However, a simple magic spell cast on Muhammad worked like a charm, and he got bewitched. If both of them serve the same God, is it possible in any way that a magic spell will affect the last prophet of the same God? The only option left before us is to choose who is false. Is that Allah or Muhammad or both? When somebody tells you that your God is a promise-breaking, adultery-promoting master of deception, who shows partiality for one group of humans and curses others for asking evidence, what would you call that? We have come to the end of this episode. If you have liked the content, please click on the like button and consider subscribing if you have not yet done that. Also share it with your friends and family. Till we meet again, may the good Lord bless you and keep you.